All right, so in section 6.8, solving advanced radical equations, we are going to take a little bit longer to do these because it will require us to factor trinomials, okay? So let me kind of show you what we're going to do. Now, a couple little side notes, not that you have to learn anything brand new, but a quick side note. Extraneous solutions, just so you can remember what those mean. So extraneous solutions, these are answers that cannot be used, okay? Answers that cannot be used. Okay? So the question is why? Okay, why can't they be used? The reason why they can't be used is, first off, you may get a square root that's equal to a negative number, let's say like something like this. Okay? That is not possible. You cannot have a square root equal to a negative number. Unless you use the letter I, but we're not dealing with complex or imaginary numbers. We're dealing with normal numbers. A square root can never equal something negative. Okay? So, right here we'll just put square root cannot equal to a negative. Okay, I'm just going to kind of put a little set of words there just to kind of show you what that means. Also, a square root cannot be negative on the inside. As a radicand, okay? So those are the two things we're going to be looking for. Once we find our answers, we're going to plug it back into our problem, and we're going to see, does this say that the square root equals to a negative number? Because if it does, then I can't use it. Or does this say that the square root is negative on the inside? Because if it is negative on the inside, then I can't use it either. Okay, so two situations that I got to be aware of. Okay, so let me show you some of these problems here. So number 2. So if I want to solve, remember what we did yesterday? We just want to get rid of the square roots, right? So the way we get rid of the square roots is we square everything. So k equal to square root of 2 minus k. I'm just going to square root, not square root, square both sides. So that gives me a k squared equal to 2 minus k. Now in yesterday's homework, that k squared was never there. It was a number. It was like a 10 or a 7 or something, right? Here, we actually have a variable. That means we got to rewrite this. We got to set it equal to 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this 2 and this negative k. I'm going to move them over, okay? So I get k squared plus k minus 2 when I move them over. Okay, I got to subtract 2, I got to add k to move those over. Now you can see there's a trinomial there. So I'm going to have to use the x method. Let's figure out my factors. So on the very top, remember it's your a, b, and c values, right? A is 1, b is 1, c is negative 2. So a times c goes on top, that's negative 2. And 1 goes on the bottom. That's your b value. And now you think, okay, what two values give me a negative 2 but a positive 1 when I add them? What two values do I use? Multiply to negative 2, add to a positive 1. All right. Negative 1, positive 2. Okay, good. So my answer, or not my answer, but my next step is going to be k plus 2, k minus 1, bless you, equals 0. Okay? So, at this point, you're supposed to solve for both of them. Okay? So, k plus 2 equals 0, k minus 1 equals 0. So you get k equal to negative 2, k equal to 1. So we'd be done, right? These are my two answers. But before I can do anything, I got to plug them into the top equation. Okay? I got to plug them into the top equation, the original equation, and see, will it work? So here we go. This is my check step. Okay, I'm going to call it the check step. All right. I'm going to plug in -2 first into my original equation. Okay? If you want, I'll write my original equation right here so that we know what we're doing. There's the original equation right there. Okay? So if I plug in a -2, I get -2 equals to the square root of 2 minus -2. So -2 is equal to the square root of 4. So -2 is equal to 2. Well, that's not true, right? So this is an extraneous solution. That doesn't work. Well, let's try 1. All right, if I plug in a 1 into the equation, I get 1 equals to the square root of 2 minus 1. 1 is the square root of 1, which is actually true. So that works. This is my only answer. Okay? All right, so let's check out one more of these type, and then we're going to move over to something different, okay? So the square root of 54 minus 3n is equal to n. So yet again, we are going to have to square both sides. So let me write this out. We'll square both sides. And when we do that, we end up with the following. 54 minus 3n is equal to n squared. Now, since n squared is all by itself on the right side, I'm going to move these things over here by adding 3n and by subtracting 54, okay? So I'm going to end up with 0 equals to n squared plus 3n minus 54. Now, I see a trinomial. That means I get to factor. Okay, so let's go ahead and factor this using the x method. My a times c is a -54. My b is a 3. So I need two numbers that multiply to -54 that add up to 3. One will be positive, one will be negative. Anybody know which two? Yeah, -6 and a +9. Good. Because those add up to 3, they do multiply to -54. So, let's take this, let's move it over here. This will be n plus 9, n minus 6 equals 0. So you got to set up two small little equations, right? N plus 9 equals 0, n minus 6 equals 0. If you solve both of them, we get n equals to -9, n equals to +6. And we would normally be done. But since these are radical problems, you're going to have to check. Okay, so I'm just going to write my equation here again. 54 minus 3n equals to n. So this is my check step. So we'll plug in a -9, okay? So the square root of 54 minus 3 times -9 is equal to -9. So the square root of 54 plus 27 is equal to -9. By the way, at this point, you can pretty much say this doesn't work, because can a square root be negative? No, right? That's what I mentioned in the very beginning. That's what I'm seeing right here. A square root is negative. But if you keep working, you get the square root of 81 is -9, which is 9 equals to -9. That is not true. Okay, that doesn't work. So this is not a good answer. Now let's see if 6 works. Sometimes both of them fail. Sometimes one Sometimes they both work. All right, so let's see. If n is 6, square root of 54 minus 3 times 6 equals to 6. So far so good. It's equal to a positive number. The square root of 54 minus 18 is 6. 54 minus 18 is 36. And we know that the square root of 36 is 6. So that works out just fine. So that's your only answer. So again, I know these problems take a while, but the bad news is that there are some that take a little bit longer, and that's what we're going to go into right now. Okay? So I'll try to see if I can do 2 of those for you guys as well, just to kind of help you out. The quiz that we just made for you, by the way, is 10 questions. I sent it out to the other teachers, and I said, hey, here's the quiz. I think it's too long. Okay, 10 questions is normally not that bad, but you're about to see right now why I think it might be too long if we put too many of these types that are coming up, okay? So, but before I do that, any questions on questions 2 and 4? So remember, square both sides, set it equal to 0, use the x method to factor, and then once you do that, you should be good. Okay, solve, check step. Okay, always check step. So, all right, so 6 is kind of like one of those harder ones. Let me just double check some other stuff here. 8 and 12, yeah, so I'm just looking at these other things. All right, so let's look at number 6, then we'll do like number 8, and then maybe not number 8, maybe we'll go to number 12. All right, so check out number 6. Notice it's not just a anymore at the end, it's a minus 5. Okay? So when you square both sides, you're actually going to have to distribute on the right side. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Square root of 2a minus 10 is equal to a minus 5. Now I'm going to have to square both sides. So square here, square there. Now the left side is actually the easier one of the two. This just becomes 2a minus 10. But the right side, you guys are going to have to expand that. Okay? So I'm going to do a little bit of scratch work here. Okay, I'm doing some scratch work. A minus 5 squared is a minus 5 times a minus 5. So if I do foiling, if you want to call it that, or just distribution, I'm going to get a times a and a times negative 5. That's going to give me a squared minus 5a. And then if I do negative 5 times a and negative 5 times negative 5, I get negative 5a plus 25. So that comes out to a squared minus 10a plus 25. I'm going to write that over here. This is why these problems are tougher, is you're going to have to do that on all of them. Okay, you're going to square, then you're going to have to expand, and that just creates more of a mess. So, just be careful. Like I said, I did some scratch work here. So we're kind of just... All right, so that's just scratch work. Now, some people say, well, I can do that in my head. Well, then go for it, okay? Do it in your head. It's not that hard to do once you get enough practice, but if you want to do it, go for it. All right, so just like what we did in the other problems, I have to set this equal to 0. So I am going to move that negative 10 and add it to 25, and I'm going to move this positive 2a and subtract it to negative 10a. All right, so here's what I get. 0 equal to a squared minus 12a plus 35. Now at this point, the problem becomes just like the other ones. Now you just got to factor, and check your answers. Okay? So this part right here, this part is the only difference to the other ones, but it takes a long time because it's all of this too, right? It's everything right here. So that's the extra steps, and they're not like 3-second steps. They take a little while, okay? But after that, we're just going to factor, so let's see. On top, I put 35. On the bottom, I put negative 12. Okay? And then two numbers that multiply to 35 that add up to negative 12. They're both negative. All right, negative 5, negative 7. Thank you. So let me put the answer right over here. That's going to be a minus 5, a minus 7 equals 0. Solve each one. A minus 5 equals 0. A minus 7 equals 0. So a is equal to 5 and a is equal to 7. So normally we're done, but like I said, unfortunately with radicals, you got to check, right? You can't just let it be. So we're going to check. So we got square root of 2a minus 10 equals a minus 5. Like I said, I'm just writing it right there so I don't have to worry about looking up at the original problem. All right, so let's plug it in. If a is equal to 5, then I get square root 2 times 5 minus 10 is equal to 5 minus 5. That's square root of 10 minus 10 equals 0, which is the square root of 0 equal to 0. So 0 equals 0. So that's good. No problem. So here's one answer. What about 7? Well, the square root of 2 times 7 minus 10 is equal to 7 minus 5. So that's 14 minus 10 is equal to 2. 14 minus 10 is 4, so square root of 4 is equal to 2. So 2 is equal to 2. That checks out just fine. So this is a good answer. All right. So like I said, sometimes both answers work. Sometimes one will work. Sometimes none will work. Okay? It just depends on what's happening. And like I said, when it comes to this lesson, I could stop right now, but I'd like to do one more for you guys. Because you can see, if you have 12 problems, half of them are going to be easier, half are going to be harder. So I'd rather try to give you a couple of each at least. Without making it unbearable, and I think 2 and 2 is okay, but it does take a while, so I'm sorry about that, but better to see a couple examples. Are we okay with this one? This one was a lot more work, right? You had to kind of work out your distribution and all that stuff on the side in order to solve. All right, so let's do the last one. I think I told you it's going to be number 12. Now, number 12 it's not that it's that much harder. It's just you have to move a variable over first, okay? I'm going to move this negative r over there. So this is what it's going to look like. Square root of 21 minus 2r is equal to r minus 11. Now, just like every other problem, we square both sides, right? I mean, we're not changing the steps. They're always the same steps. It's just you may have to work a little bit more in each one. On the left side, you're going to write 21 minus 2r. On the right side, well, we get to do a little bit of scratch work, right? So let's see. The scratch work for r minus 11 squared is r minus 11 times r minus 11. So r times r, that's r squared. R times negative 11 is negative 11r. Negative 11 times r is negative 11r. And negative 11 times negative 11 is positive 121. So this is r squared minus 22r plus 11. This is my scratch work. I know I did a little bit faster than the other times, but I figure you guys won't mind, right? I just draw the little arrows if you want to. I didn't do it, but I can do it right now. So let me write that over here. R squared minus 22R plus, not 11, I'm sorry, 121. So I'm going to have to move some stuff, right? I'm going to have to get this negative 2R and add it to negative 22R. And this 21 is going to be subtracted. Okay? So to 121. So this is what it's going to look like. 0 equals R squared minus 20R plus 100. So let's do the X method. On top is 100. On the bottom is negative 20. So what two numbers should I use? I need a positive 100 but a negative 20. They should both be negative. Yeah, negative 10, negative 10. So here we go. This is going to be R minus 10 times R minus 10 equal to 0. I don't have to solve for both of them because they're both identical, right? So just solve for one. R minus 10 equals 0. R is 10. So, check step. Okay. My original problem is negative R plus square root of 21 minus 2R equals to negative 11. And let's just plug in a 10. So negative 10 plus the square root of 21 minus 2 times negative 10 is equal to negative 11. So negative 10 plus, what do we have here? This is 21 plus 20 is equal to negative 11. So negative 10, so it's 20, yeah. So we got negative 10 plus the square root of 41 equals to negative 11. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this negative 10 over here, okay? And I get the square root of 41 is equal to negative 1. Can a square root be negative? Okay.
Why do you have a negative inside the line?
Oh, why did I plug in that? Yeah, you're right. Never mind. I'm plugging in negative 10. Hold on. Changing that. Thank you for that. Positive 10. So that should be a minus 20. Let me change the color here. That way you guys can see where the weird stuff happened. Minus 20. So this will be a positive 1. And this will be... Let me get rid of this real quick. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know why I saw negative 10. There's a 10 here. I'm just checking the work. So 10 plus the square root of 21 minus 2 times 10 equal to negative 11. 10 plus the square root of 21 minus 20 is equal to negative 11. 10 plus the square root of 1 is equal to negative 11. All right. 10 plus 1 is equal to negative 11, which means 11 is equal to negative 11. Should it? Oh my gosh. Okay. I thought it's supposed to be positive. Wait. Yes. Well, either way, let me add that. We get... So even with that fix, I still don't get an equal sign, right? It is incorrect. So, do I have solutions? No, I don't get any solutions. So I have no solutions. Thank you for those corrections there. Totally forgot about the R being negative on its own. I thought it was just positive, even though I wrote it there, but I forgot that it was negative to begin with. So when you're doing these problems, make sure you guys check. Okay, check at the end to see if any of your solutions actually work, because they may not work. Maybe everything works, maybe just one. Okay, so I'll go ahead and stop right now.